Rampage.
Hey guys, this is Wisper coming at you again with another IO commentary video. I know there's a lot of new subscribers from the last video. I really want to put my best foot forward, and this is a great game that I played just yesterday. Really fantastic game. I'm playing with my friend Pudgy, who is the CK. Classic IO lineup, a classic lineup in a brand new patch. And we're going to see how those two things mesh together as the game continues. I am going to be talking in this game about the build that I'm going. It's a build that I discussed in my previous video, my how to play IO in 7.07 video, and this is a more expanded view on one of those builds. It's a build I've been practicing a lot. I have a pretty strong understanding of what it entails and how reliable it is, and I want to talk to you guys about that today. As you can see here, one of the big changes that I've realized is that they have changed the way that health regen works. The amount of health regen you get, I believe, stacks with strength at this point, and as a result, perhaps even if I'm wrong, the result of how this plays out is IO has much higher base health regen at level 1. In the old patch, 7.06, IO had 0.8 HP regen at level 1, and here we can say it's almost double that. It's actually more than double that. It's 1.7. It's gone up by 0.9, and that is an enormous jump. I always used to play with a mango in my inventory because at level 1, because the way that this used to affect IO's tether is IO had 0.8 seconds of health regen. He would tether to a person. He would, double, or what's 1.5 times 0.8? It's less than 1.5 HP regen. It's 1.6. As a result, you would only end up healing the other person 1 HP per second through your tether, and that was a huge bummer. If you got mango, your health regen jumped to 1.8, which through tether was almost 3. And you could actually see a difference in the green numbers that you healed a player. The difference between a mango in your inventory and without would jump your passive healing triple, up from 1 HP regen to the other player to 3 HP regen to the other player that you're tethered to. And I always found this really invaluable. It's just not necessary anymore. I want everyone to watch the play that I'm making here, because I think this is really important for all safe lane supports to be doing, not just IO players. I'm able to steal both runes and stack the small camp all in one sitting. But to get back to the point that I was previously making, now that you no longer need that mango in your inventory in order to maintain above 1.0 HP regen, I have opted to, instead of going for 1 salve and 1 mango, to have no mangoes and double down on my salves. I was always a big proponent of having opening salves back in 7.06. The way that they can be used in the midst of a team fight with overcharge is basically second to none. And I have been able to, rather than focusing on that mango, use the updates of 7.07 and focus in on my salves instead. What you've seen me do here as I've been talking is I've been able to get both bounty runes, stack, and pull the small camp, all between 145 and 215. It's been a very effective 30 seconds. I have bought some of the items that go towards my soul ring. I've bought the Ring of Regen, which you unfortunately can no longer buy from the side shop. That's going to be a big help in the passive regen of IO's health, especially now as you don't have mango. It's going to be a big boost to how efficiently you can passively heal your tether target. And then I've bought a gauntlet in order to increase my health, increase my damage, how efficiently I can harass Axe. And then I've bought a ward. And this ward is really important, and I think it pays for itself. If you're not going to buy an opening ward in the beginning of the game, I think it's important to buy it before 4 minutes. With the idea being that you can set up vision on the enemy player's bounty rune very, very easily. Here you can see that I actually misclick to stack that camp. And I realize by the time that I get there, I'm just not going to have time, even if I were to make contact on the second hit. And as you can see, I'm placing this high ground ward while I'm taking their bounty rune. And that's going to set me up for the next 6 minutes. The next 3 bounty runes, I'm going to have vision on whether their axe is going to be there to shut me down or not. There are ways of doing this with an IO that don't involve wards. You can have spirits going and open up your spirits as you run up the hill. If you see your spirits collide with someone, you know someone's there. But this, having that ward, it really pays for itself. You get 1 bounty rune, the ward is paid for. And to be able to confidently run up that hill, not have to worry about who's going to crap on you once you get there, is very, very helpful for everyone. Here I'm trying my best to stack camps when available. This big camp can be both stacked, as you can't pull the whole camp, the whole wave, but you can pull the ranged creep by pulling at 54. I've been able to replicate this. I think you'll see me do it twice in this game, but that's a really great strategy. You used to be unable to stack and pull from the big camp, or it used to be a lot more complex. The timing of the creeps would change around 8 or 9 minutes, and you would have to readjust your strategy. It's really nice that they've made it so in the early game you can pull just the ranged creep, which admittedly is less effective now than before because they've changed the way that the amount of XP that ranged creep has, but it's still nice. Nice to be able to deny creeps from your enemy. Here we've gotten the first kill onto Axe. We've been able to make some plays here. I'm able to salve up both the CK and myself. 1 salve, everyone's at full health. It's really fantastic, especially after kills like that where people become very committed. And we can see, just want to highlight here, that ward just paid for itself. Axe got to that rune before I got to that rune, and I was able to make sure that I wasn't there to catch a level 5 Axe in the face for that rune. So just to highlight, guys, that rune is super helpful. Here I've built into Soul Ring. It's a pretty standard item for me personally. There are definitely lanes where, depending upon the hero that you're laning with, you know, giving them a bunch of mana is not going to help them. Playing with an anti-mage and getting Soul Ring doesn't make a lot of sense. Anti-mage can't do a whole lot with the mana that you're throwing at him, and as a result, it's kind of useless. He'd much prefer the healing. CK is not one of those heroes. CK loves that mana. It is an absolutely classic Soul Ring lane combo. He stuns and he pulls, and he's at, you know, 1/3 of his total mana. And 1 tether, 1 Soul Ring activation puts him right back to full. Not to mention, 1 Soul Ring has strength built into it now, which means Io is able to harass better, but also his Soul Ring, the cooldown of Soul Ring has been reduced by 5 seconds. So he can actually, from 30 seconds down to 25. So he can actually give mana to his teammates faster now with Soul Ring than ever before. Here I'm trying to encourage CK to keep on blowing his mana on Axe. It doesn't matter if we're going for kills, we don't have to necessarily commit to anything crazy. Just keep on stunning him, pulling him, putting him in bad positions, pressuring him, and just use your mana. Use the currency, quote unquote, that I can keep you totally filled up with the whole time. If I can give you tons and tons of mana in the lane, it doesn't help if you're not spending mana. So I'm sure over communication, through the game, through chat, I'm sort of telling him just to keep on spamming his skills. And the next item that I'm building into is Tranquil Boots. I'm going for a... Well, I want to make sure this fight doesn't do anything crazy. I don't think it does. I think we just push him out. I'm going for Tranquil Boots at this point because I know that I need to be able to maintain the health that I'm giving to... I want to say Pudge, so his name is Pudgy. The health that I'm giving to CK. And I need to call both the Wind Lace and the Ring of Regen from the side shop. Here, we see a great moment to relocate. I was actually hoping that he would go onto the PA. I was originally upset for the first 3 seconds that he hadn't gone onto the squishier PA, who admittedly is 3 levels above the Ogre Mage. But we ended up getting the kill anyway, and were able to come back in relative safety. You're going to see me make some really great relocate plays this game. I'm quite proud of how those panned out. Having a good eye on what's going on in other lanes, being able to identify lanes that you know you can make an impact in. You know, lanes don't change a whole lot in the first 12 minutes of the game. You know, people roam, obviously, and there's some switch-ups, but having an eye in the first few minutes about where people are laning, and then knowing at level 6 we can jump into XYZ, is always helpful to know ahead of time. Not only have I called in the Tranquil Boots, I've also called in Infused Raindrops. Infused Raindrops are going to be helpful in building into Urn of Shadows later in the game, and eventually Spirit Vessel as a maybe. But it's also helpful in maintaining your early mana. The changes to Soul Ring have meant that the mana regen that you had is a little bit lower than before. Soul Ring used to have 50% mana regen boost, and now it doesn't. So having that early Soul Ring having those early Infused Raindrops is going to help you, 1, block magic damage, and 2, keep up your mana. Again, another fantastic relocate play. Or no, not a relocate play, a TP play. Having those opening TPs from the game is super nice. I'm able to commit into bottom lane and block off the escape route of the Ogre Mage and get another kill. I go for the Tome at minute 10. Tome is so important on IO. It was important before on IO when his talents were all defense-based. Now that his talents are offense-based, so important. So important. Please buy the Tome. If you are playing IO out there and you are not buying the Tome, buy the Tome. That is integral at like all stages of the game. At this point, I want to hit level 7 so that I can max out the damage with my spirits. I want to hit level 10 so I can do more melee damage. I want to hit level 15 so I can pick a talent from there. All of this is very important. So the Tome is a fantastic choice. Here we start to pull this big stacked camp. I actually took a lot of it without meaning to. We get a kill onto Axe and immediately relocate bottom because there's a team fight going on here. We're able to make another play onto Ogre Mage. And I believe I pull back CK before we can do anything to PA. But these jumping kills that we're getting with relocate are super helpful. I'm able to complete my wand. I'm building to the last items of Urn, and I have also gone for an extra clarity at this point. I tend to find myself buying 1 extra clarity in the early game. I just find that I end up spending more mana early on my spirits or something to that effect. Something not to be afraid of doing. And you can see here I've done it again. I've stacked the small camp, run to the enemy rune, stolen their rune, come back to grab my rune, and if we were in a situation where I needed to pull, I could pull right now, 12-14, 12-15, 12-16. Being able to pull in those situations can control lane equilibrium and give your carry the advantage that he needs. I think at this point I'm searching for the last bit of money to finish off my Urn, but you can see on my Infused Raindrops, I've already lost one raindrop. So there was at least one moment where being able to block magic damage came into play. Not to mention the passive mana regen I've been getting this whole time. Getting those early Infused Raindrops are a big deal in my opinion. Axe is back and we're trying to scare him out, but we see Pudge is coming too. I think we all run away a little bit. In this build specifically, after I have Urn and Wand coming to me on the courier, I'm going to be building into a high damage IO build. I believe I called it damage support build when I was making my video. And it involves essentially going heavy at level 15, picking your spirits damage. Ooh, we'll talk about this in one moment. Another relocate play into bottom lane. I'm able to bring CK at the very last second, which worked out super well. And we're able to make 2 kills onto both PA and Ogre, which is fantastic. Being able to maintain this really high level of XP early has gotten me to my level 10 damage talent very fast. At level 10 for this build, I mean the level 10 in almost any build, I take the plus 60 damage. It's so overpowered compared to the plus 400 max spirits range. It's something you can do if you really want to, and I'm sure there are games where it's more appropriate to do A over B, but in almost every single scenario, I feel that going for the spirits range is just so weak. Here I'm able, again, to TP into this rubric. I'm attempting to save him, even though he gets culled by Axe. And I was so desperately dead at that point. Axe was mid-chop to kill me when the Mirana arrow hit, and I was able to walk away just barely, cutting it very, very close there. As I was saying before, in this build that I'm going, I get the plus 60 damage talent at level 10, and I get the plus 90 spirits damage at level 15. I think a lot of players, when they first released the 7.07 updates, and they saw that Tether could give Aghanims, that kind of blew everyone's mind and really freaked people out. Oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever. We all have to play like this. This is the new way to play IO. And in my experience, that's a very hit or miss build. It is incredibly dependent not only on the players that are on your team. You know, if you have a Sven, I mean, if you have a Monkey King has no Aghanims. The new players have no Aghanims. Arc Warden has no Aghanims. Not to mention players that don't really need you to give them Aghanims. Pudge doesn't need it. Mirana doesn't need it. It's very temperamental. Not to mention the idea, again, relocate play, but I'll talk over it here. Not to mention the idea that even if you do have a Sven or Bristleback who could totally make great use of your Aghanims tether, what if they're terrible players? What if they're 0-9? Are you going to define your level 15 talent based on a crap player and what they can't do? I think going for the plus 90 spirits damage talent is infinitely more reliable. It is active the whole game, not just when you're tethered to somebody who can make use of it, and it's incredibly powerful. There's some math I want to put up on the screen to help support this. There was math that I presented in my previous video, and I have since found out that that math was incorrect. I was under the impression that all players had a 25% magic damage resistance, which is for the most part true. I think Visage and Meepo are different, but everyone else is at 25%. And by using Veil of Discord, which decreases your magic resistance by 25%, that would work out to be 0. You know, you have 25% resistance with a 25% decrease is 0. 25 plus minus 25 minus. Let's just watch this play really quick, because the fact that I survived this is a goddamn miracle. That is the level 10 talent for you, people. You hit like a tank. Don't ever skip it. Veil, by increasing your spirits damage, by using Veil, you end up having a 6%, the enemy player ends up having a 6% magic damage resistance. It's not 0, like I previously thought. It ends up being somewhere around 6%. Now, you also gain magic damage through the intellect that you have on your hero. And this varies from IO to IO, from player to player, depending on the items that you build and what you prefer to buy into. If you go into more intellect-heavy items, you'll have more bonus magic damage. But from my estimations, playing with what you can do in the hero demos and things like that, I'm seeing that you're getting anywhere from 0% to around 7% magic increase, depending on the items that you buy. I'm sure it can go higher than that, but you know, unless you're buying some incredibly high intellect items, which I'm already kind of doing in this build, it's not going to get much higher than that. As a result, the damage that you increase from having both the Veil as well as the plus 90 spirits damage is really, really similar to what I had originally presented in the first video. It's not 100% accurate. We're probably off by several points of damage, but to factor this in, it's very, very high. It is still immensely viable as a killing mechanism in the mid and end game, and you can see it's what I built here. I actually have the Veil done before level 15, and in part that's very, very helpful because on top of the magic damage that Veil provides, it also gives you a lot of fantastic stats that are just great for your hero. The armor is really important from Veil because you no longer have a plus 10 armor talent that comes at level 10. Excuse me. It gives you a lot of intelligence, which is fantastic for maintaining your mana pool, as well as, you know, a little bit of increase to your total damage. It also, to your total magic damage. It also provides, you know, just other stats to strength and agility. It has health regen built into it. It's a really fantastic all-around item for keeping Io alive. Not only that, but once you hit your plus 90 spirits damage, the damage that you do, and from having spirits without the talent, spirits with the talent, and spirits with the talent plus Veil of Discord, really jumps up. It is something not a lot of people notice or understand. They see that Tether Ags and they think this is it. That is the creme de la creme of all of gaming. Why even look at something that isn't that? And my answer to that is, if you sit down and look at how strong you can make this skill, which is still not an easy skill to learn to use. You know, you have to practice expanding and contracting your orbs, and when you're chasing someone, what do? Things of that nature. It's not the simplest thing. It doesn't just make it easy as pie, but it makes it strong. Very, very strong. Something not to be forgotten about. The next item that I'm building in this build is Scepter. What we had at level 15 in the previous game, previous patch, was a set mana regen talent. And that was so strong that it would fix your mana for almost the whole game. Now that things have changed, I am personally looking for some sort of item that is going to give me mana regen, to be able to tide me over from what level 15 talent used to give me. Scepter is fantastic for multiple reasons. First, it gives you that mana. It gives you the ability to have not only a boost to your total mana pool through intelligence, like in Veil of Discord, but it also gives you a nice amount of mana regen. This mana regen also stacks with the intelligence that you have in Veil of Discord. So you get even more mana regen from Veil by having Veil, more mana regen from Yule's by having Veil in your inventory. On top of that, it gives you a speed boost, which is really fantastic for Io. That plus 40 speed from Scepter. I've seen some very high players in previous games, in previous patches. They would use the plus 40 damage from Scepter as their boots. They would not buy boots at all. They would only buy Yule's. So to have boots and Yule's on top of that, it makes you very, very fast. Finally, it gives you access to Cyclone. And Cyclone is a really fantastic move on Io, for both offensive as well as defensive purposes. Not only are you able to Cyclone enemy heroes, so they can be set up for your team to jump on them. If they have a channeling spell like a Crystal Maiden or an Enigma that's ulting, you can make sure to stop their ultimate. And as well as just heroes that are trying to TP away from the fight. They're concerned about they're about to get jumped or they're running away. Being able to interrupt that TP is very, very big. You can also use it defensively to block magic damage that's about to land onto you, a gyrocopter ultimate for example, or just de-aggro in the midst of a fight. What you just saw here, I was pretty sure that PA, after he daggered me, was about to jump on me, and I made myself a very uninviting target by making sure that I used myself. He wouldn't be able to jump on me for 2.5 seconds. Maybe he'd jump on me after, but he'd have to sit there for 2.5 seconds while CK came and swung at him. So it makes you a less interesting target in the fight. It has a lot of potential uses. You can see from here I'm building into Spirit Vessel. Spirit Vessel is sort of the end game representation of Urn of Shadows. It essentially makes both the healing and damage parts of Urn stronger, but almost most importantly, it means that when the enemy player is healing and they're hit by this spell, the healing that they gain is reduced by 70%. And that's a big deal against players that have low health and heal themselves. One that comes to mind is Huskar. It is a fantastic anti-Huskar item. Huskar is going to be low HP and heal himself and attack. If that healing suddenly becomes 70% less effective, he's basically dead. Another example in this game is Necro. Necro is all about healing himself through his Death Pulse, especially through his Ghost Shroud attack, so he gets even extra healing on top of that. Being able to lower that all by 70%, super, super effective. There are times where I would not buy Spirit Vessel, and that is when someone else on the team has an urn and they've refused to sell it. Urn of Shadows, much like Spirit Vessel, only functions when there are charges on it. If two people have Urn, the charges become split between those two players. It becomes far less, you personally have far less charges to work with, and as a result, you're spending 1,900 gold on an item that you're not going to be able to use as often as you really want to. On top of all this, it also has a speed boost, something that I did not mention in my original video. The synergy of Tranquil Boots, Yule Scepter, Spirit Vessel means you are so goddamn... Like, look, right now, in the game, with a tether, I have a base move speed of 527. That is halfway towards Hasted. Like, it's crazy how quick you move now, as an IO, with those two items in your inventory. This is my base build for the damage build. You have Veil up, you have your 15 magic damage talent. I think for level 20, I'm at this point deciding what to be building. I think I decide to go for gold. The attacking with a tethered ally is a great skill. I think it's better than the level 15 Ags talent because it's more viable in more games. If you are with certain heroes that have split shot mechanics, if you've gone Drow and Aghanims, and Drow is able to split shot through his Aghanims, if you have a Medusa who's going to be split shotting, if you're with a Troll or some other fast attack hero, getting that level 20 talent, even as a damage support player, is totally worth it. In this specific game, we didn't have any particularly fast attacking heroes. You know, CK would have been doable, but it wouldn't have been necessary. And secondarily, we're already winning the game. I think the best idea behind using that talent, that level 20 attack talent, is for pushes. Being able to really maximize the amount of damage you can do in a small window when you're pushing an enemy tower or Rax. Because we already have Raxes down, we've already been able to do stuff. I get caught by a very unfortunate Necro ultimate there. Because we've already been so effective at pushing and getting stuff done, I don't feel that we need that attack talent, and the option to go for gold is great as well. 150 gold per minute is insane, very, very strong talent, and it can help you get a lot of fantastic endgame IO items. The one that I mentioned in my previous video was Heart of Tarask. Heart of Tarask is a fantastic endgame healing item that can help your carry stay alive. You can heal your team up between pushes, right after team fights. It's very, very strong. But because the level 25 talent is now plus 50 HP regen, which, by the way, is not plus 50 HP regen, but ends up being plus 78 HP regen, I don't know if this is the changes they've made to how HP regen and mana regen are read on an item versus how they function in real life, because they're no longer one-to-one anymore. Like, having plus 3 HP regen is now even more than plus 3. I think it balances off of your strength, like I said earlier, but I'm not 100%. But that plus 50 HP regen talent at level 25 is actually more like plus 80 HP regen, and that's very, very strong. Heart of Tarask is way higher than that. It's in the several hundreds of HP healed per second, but Heart of Tarask can turn off, especially on a ranged hero, where it turns off for even longer, I think for 8 seconds, as compared to a melee hero, which is, I believe, 5? So having that constant HP regen in the background from level 25 means Heart of Tarask is no longer so important of an item. Again, in this game, I'm doing very, very well. I don't necessarily need to have that item in my inventory, in order to win, so I decide to build for E-Blade. E-Blade is an item I had discussed with some people on my Twitch about its potential uses. It is going to provide an additional 40% damage increase to people who are hit by it, which is going to 40% magical damage increase. So it's going to end up making my spirits hit even harder. Very, very hard at this point. I'm going to put the math on the screen showing how hard. On top of the original E-Blade Blast damage, which is magic damage, which is increased through Veil. So not only is the orbs that you're firing through spirits going to be increased through the E-Blade damage, but E-Blade works backwards synergistically with your Veil. All in all, it's a really, really nice item. It has, again, I love items that have both offensive and defensive uses. You can cast it on yourself, which you're going to see me do later on, in order to keep myself alive from being pressured by a jumping hero like PA. You can also use it offensively to slow somebody down. It has an 80% slow, which means the best personal way I found to use it is to hit someone with E-Blade, well, Veil of Discord, E-Blade, have your spirits already out, and once they're slowed through the E-Blade, rush right into them with your spirits. The problem with E-Blade is that that slow and bonus, 40% bonus magic damage window is only 3 seconds long. And as a result, you really have to land your spells fast. You have to land your orbs fast if you want to take advantage of that extra damage. So that is my advice as to how to use it properly in a team fight. Spirits out, use Veil, use E-Blade, rush into them, and try and hit them with as many close range orbs as possible before it ends up turning off. Another potential item that I'm thinking about going in this build is Kaya, which I know is sort of gonna pull a lot of weird looks from people in the audience. But as you can see from what I'm doing here, a lot of what happens to Io in the end game is you end up overcharging a lot. Because I have good healing now through Spirit Vessel, I'm trying to make sure that my carry players are staying alive. I'm still trying to be supporty in how much I heal. So what you end up doing is overcharging yourself a lot, and the Yule Scepter mana regen is just not enough to keep you alive. Sorry, the Yule Scepter mana regen, it's not enough in the end game to keep your mana pool full, especially through the amount of overcharge that you're doing to yourself. So I've been on the lookout for other mana regen items that have end game potential. I think Kaya I know Kaya not only stacks effectively with your spirits, it stacks with Veil, it stacks with E-Blade, which means you're going to be doing even more damage from your spirits and from E-Blade. Now that you have Kaya, it gives you 16 intelligence, which is almost 200 mana, and on top of that, it reduces the 10% decrease in both the cost of your spells, but also in the amount that overcharge drains from you. So as a result, you're no longer draining your mana by 6% using overcharge, you're draining it by 5.4, which is not, it's certainly not back to 4.5 like it was before 7.06E or C or whatever it was. It's not going to be as good as that, but it's still an increase in the amount of... I personally didn't think Kaya was going to have any synergy with overcharge whatsoever. So to know that it actually decreases the amount that you are draining from yourself is super effective. Yeah, it's going to be kind of full on your inventory. You have to sell your wand in order to do that, but it's something I've been thinking about. Another option is to go Radiance, especially if you've gone the level 20 attack damage talent, being able to leverage your attack damage even further by getting Radiance. I know there's a very famous 6k IO player called Mikushiru, who is a big fan of getting Radiance after his Veil. And using it himself as sort of a mid-team fight IO. I haven't personally screwed around with that too much myself, but I feel like that would be an interesting place to go with it. So this is me sort of covering the build that I used this game. I hope that you guys really enjoyed it. You can see from the end I had over 800 XPM. After CK, I was the #1 damage player in the game, let alone on the team. And the game worked out really, really well. I hope from watching this, you guys have been able to learn a little bit more about how to play IO. I hope I have successfully defended why this build totally works. And I will be going into more detail about other builds and other ways to play soon. So I hope that this was enough for right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I think that's what I'm really going for. Enjoyed the gameplay as well as the information presented, and I hope ultimately it makes you that much better of a player. I hope you guys had fun, and I'll see you soon. All right, bye.